What about my love? Wasn't it enough? Just let me know so I can hold you.
Seth Henigan's one of my personal favorites. I mean, I wanted to see, after seeing him play in person and looking at his track record over the last 4 years, honestly, I mean, Henigan might be one of the last quarterbacks ever to start and play all 4 years at one school.
Yep.
So, like, round of applause for what Henigan did. Right?
We're in what, 4 different numbers?
Yes, we're in 4 different numbers even. Yeah, you add that in, it's like, no one's doing that.
Switch numbers every year.
But the thing with Henigan for me is I wanted to see him at the Senior Bowl, and how did he compete? How did he look compared to the rest? Man, he wasn't talked about. He was left off of graphics, on national televised coverage of the game. But Henigan was the best quarterback all week at practice, in my opinion.
Him and Tyler.
He was the best quarterback. Yep. I mean, absolutely. And I think
they're on the same team.
Just more,
right?
More consistent. No, they were opposite.
Oh, it was Tyler and Dillon Gabriel on the same team.
Yeah, Tyler Gabriel and the Canadian kid 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀 were on the same team.
Tyson 𝗕𝘂𝘂𝗀𝗀𝗀, whatever his name is.
Yeah. And Henigan is on the team with Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart, and Riley Leonard. And Henigan was never mentioned, right? So for Henigan to go out there and compete the way he did, and then lead a fourth quarter comeback for his team with 2 game-winning drives, throwing the game-winning touchdown. I mean, look, if Jack Bech wasn't the one who caught that touchdown and he threw it to someone else, Henigan's absolutely winning the MVP award. I mean, he had far and away, in my opinion, he had the best performance in the actual game itself. He was decisive with his decision making. Like, yeah, when you go back and look at it, it's like he was decisive. He was accurate at all levels of the field. He commanded the offense very well. For me, right, you talk about his, it takes him a little bit to kind of get into the groove of things in the season. I was glad to see him, jump right in, having not really warmed up, right, because it's the fourth quarter. Well, he didn't play until the fourth quarter, and then he goes in and dominated. So for me, that was a good sign to see him just kind of do that. I love the accuracy, and for Henigan, he needs to be talked about more.
I will say this about Seth. Seth has a tough time in the first quarter, has an okay time in the second quarter, but whatever switch he has at halftime, he comes out swinging for the fences, and he's a fish. I'll put it like this. Seth Henigan could probably be the most efficient quarterback on this list if you play him in the second half. That's the only knock I have on Seth Henigan. That's the only knock. He starts out slow in some games, and it's painfully slow. It's like, geez,
man. Do you think that could be a play calling thing sometimes, though? I'm just curious.
I've watched a lot over the last couple weeks of him, and I'll say this: I struggle with saying it's a play calling thing because the offensive scheme that he's playing under at Memphis is a lot like Oregon. Like, and I try to put it like this, right? Like, if Seth was on Oregon, how well would he do? We understand he had Rock Taylor and Mario Anderson there, but if I was to flop Seth Henigan and Dillon Gabriel, who would I think would do better on Memphis? And I think Dillon would, and he would do worse in Oregon, even with the weapons that are there. And it's just because if we're getting a tempo game, Seth's not really good at that. And I would love to see what he would have done in like a Kalen DeBoer type system. Like where it's a lot of intermediate passes and we're going to try our hand a lot downfield.
Yeah.
Because it seems like that's where he wants to go. Like it's almost like when Seth is under center, he doesn't trust like, man, I really want to throw this long. And you see that happen. Like it's always like 2 plays in. Check down, throw it long, and it's barely off. And then check down, then he does it again and it's barely off. And it's like, geez, he's just trying to dial it in. So I don't know if it's like he just has a tough time like getting warmed up to the fact that like I can't force it downfield right now, even though I trust Rock and he's going to be down there and he's going to be consistent. I don't know what it was, and that's the only reason I bumped him down and put Will up is like, who would I trust in the game more at this point to start out at a consistent, at a consistent basis? I'll probably put Will over it, but if somebody gets a hold of him and puts him in the right system, like when we talk about like Bo Nix going to Sean Payton, which I think is a total myth. I just think that's lazy analysis by a lot of people. I think Bo would have fit anywhere. I think Seth Henigan under Sean Payton would be awesome. So if the Broncos are trying to draft a backup at this point, Seth Henigan would fit perfect in that offense. I just personally think, even though he came from Will Stein's system, I just think Bo was like, he could run anything, and he could get you downfield.
Listen, man, I have stated many of times on many of mock drafts that I feel like Will Howard is the best quarterback in this draft class. Now, maybe he might fall to like second round Raiders or whatever, but we're not here to talk about that. This dude has been a winner everywhere that he has gone. And we even said it. Dante has the proof of if he goes to a school like Ohio State, they're winning the national championship.
I said this. You can go back and see it.
I predicted this. Proof.
I said, do not let this man go to the transfer portal and go to Ohio State. Then they were like, he's going to go to USC. And I was like, why? Miller Moss is there. Oh, he's committed to Ohio State. I said, oh my God, that is the perfect fit for him. And then I was like, don't let this man go because they might win a national championship. And guess what? They won a national championship. I'm super excited to see Will Howard. And I can't believe like just my thought process actually happened for him to end up on Ohio State. And I think it's just the perfect match. And it's hard pressed for me to say that with him under center that they couldn't win a national championship. That's just my 2 cents.
With Will Howard, it's very much the case of yes. All these quarterbacks have something to work on. And with Will Howard, you can say deep ball accuracy might be one of them. You can say it with that as well. But to go in with the schedule that Ohio State had, to lose to Oregon, and then to just mollywop everybody in the college football playoffs.
Will Howard, now this one hurts me because I had Seth Henigan here for the longest time. I did.
It surprised me when I saw this.
And I made a switch because of the simple fact that I've seen Will Howard go from one school, put the team on his back, and go to Ohio State and do important things for a team and be as good as what people thought he was going to be when he transferred there. And then also, silence the doubters. And then draft season comes along. He has a less than ideal pro day and combine and people. And it's like, it's the same thing I felt about Max Duggan. Do you want a guy that's going to go out there and compete and put the team on his back and not worry about all this measurable stuff? At least he's out there competing. I can say this a lot more than about Shedeur and Cam Ward at this point. So he won a national championship. Where's the hype on him? But again, this is what people do with Ohio State quarterbacks. Well, based off the history, it's just a lazy pickup line that everybody does around this time. It's so stupid to me. Obviously, I got Kurtis Rourke as my number one. Is anybody surprised at this?
Nah.
I don't care about his injury. I don't care about what they did as a team, having 2 losses to the 2 national championship contenders. I don't care if you look at the Ohio State situation, and that first drive was probably one of the most methodical drives of the year when you watched it against Ohio State. And then coaching came into play, and they wanted to run the ball like 45 times, and Kurtis only had 18 times to really spin it down the field while they were losing by a lot. And I don't understand that. But the arm talent, the way the dude can sling it, the toughness, every attribute that you want in a quarterback, the size, I think Kurtis can do that. And the one thing that's on his side too is his brother played in the NFL, so his brother's going to give him every single cheat code to be a better pro than he was. And his brother wasn't that great. I mean, to be honest, they both played at University of Ohio, and Kurtis did the one thing. They're Canadian, go from Canada to Ohio, and he ended up taking his talents with, Kurt Signetti at Indiana and having a really, really good year. Even we talked about the thumb thing the other day too, and I totally forgot about that. Missing the game with a nasty thumb injury, and was still slinging and spinning a rock better than probably anybody in the country. So Kurtis Rourke's at my number one.
Kurtis Rourke, the toughness, man, pushing through those injuries, those are things that normally you don't play through. and you don't elevate a team like Indiana to the season that they had on those injuries, being a kid who just played at Ohio. I think that he's looked over because of the two schools he's played at, Ohio and Indiana. Indiana wasn't given enough respect still this past season. Kurtis Rourke was instrumental in that. He deserves respect. When you go back and watch Dante, when we were together in Houston, we had that game on. We saw him made some incredible throws. And look, the arm talent is there. He has good decision making. I want to see him healthy because, you know, I'm sure he's different gravy. Just looking at the gene pool, right? Looking at his brother. His brother rushed for at least 13 touchdowns every single season of his career at Ohio. He had 21 his freshman year with nearly 1,000 yards on the ground.
Facts.
I know Kurtis Rourke can move. Show me him when his knees are both healthy, right? I know he can spin it. Let him play Ohio State. I don't care if it's on the road. Let him play Ohio State on the road when his knee and his thumb are both healthy, right? I'm not trying to sit here and bring out the health excuses, but I want to see what he can do when given opportunities, when
it's
fully
easier
healthy.
to give him excuses when he didn't give an excuse for himself to have had the season that. Man, I told somebody, if I was Captain America and you froze me in World War II and woke me up in today's time period, and you said that Indiana was a 2-loss team. Well, 2-loss team this year, or 1-loss team in the regular season. I'd be like, who'd they lose to? Ohio State. Who'd they lose to in the playoff? Notre Dame. Both of those teams were in the national championship. Indiana was that good.
Yeah,
I would have been like, we talking about basketball, right?
Well, so get this, okay? I have 2 stats for you for Kurtis Rourke. Of the top quarterbacks in this class, the only quarterback who had a higher touchdown percentage than Cam Ward was Kurtis Rourke. The only one who threw more touchdowns than given the amount of attempts he took. And there was also, there were only 2. Let me get this right. There were only 2 quarterbacks who threw over or had an average depth of target over 10 yards downfield. So guys who are really pushing it, right? Jackson Dart, we all know why that's the case, right? Scheme and a man named Trey Harris, little stat patters. Anyways, and Kurtis Rourke. Kurtis Rourke pushes the ball downfield. You talk about his accuracy and decision making, outside in the flats, in the short checkdowns, all this stuff. But you want to talk about a guy who's a gunslinger and pushes the ball down the field and doesn't get talked about enough? You know who the other 3 guys are with the next highest, average depth of the target? You have Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, and Cam Ward. All of these guys are known for, they sling the ball down the field. They're deep accuracy, beautiful deep balls. Where's Kurtis Rourke in that conversation? Man. Where is he?
Hey, man.
I gotta know, right? So look, the tape speaks for itself, but the numbers do provide insight here that tell me that Kurtis Rourke is absolutely underrated, especially when you consider what they did.
And the advanced analytics tell you that Tyler Shough and Kurtis Rourke were possibly the best 2 quarterbacks this year. Dillon Gabriel, I mean, we talked about him at nauseum. I did a 5x5 on him. We did the film study last year to this year. Like, there's nothing that I don't like about Dillon. It's just, if you gave me Kurtis Rourke and Tyler Shough with the size and everything, and I hate to say that, I really do, but I'd have to pick them realistically. But Dillon Gabriel's the type of dude where it's like, if you don't pick me number 1, I might wax you by the time we play, and then you're going to regret your decision. So that's why I say it's like 1A, 1B, 1C. My top 3 is interchangeable any day of the week. Like, I might have one day where I feel like Dillon Gabriel's my number 1. He does nothing terrible. He does nothing bad. He does everything at a good or excellent rate every single time he's on the field. And for people that want to say he doesn't play good competition and things like that, he beat Texas last year by himself. Go watch that game and you tell me that the concerns about him looking past the offensive line, he had one of the biggest offensive lines in the country at Oklahoma. They averaged like 6'5" or 6'6" there. Like, you have that. You have the fact that he's a dual threat guy, but he's pass first, run second. So he's going to try to get you a first down. And he plays above what his size says. If it's 5'10", 5'9", whatever the case may be, just is what it is. He's great.
Here's a quick thing, about not just when he beat Texas, right? You have to understand the absurdity of some of the things he did, right? I just pulled up the stat sheet. It was a 34-30 win for Oklahoma over Texas. Texas's only loss outside of the playoffs, I believe, that year. And so you look, sorry, there's so much here. I just need y'all to understand. Texas scored to take the lead with 1:17 left. In that 1:17, Dillon Gabriel led a game-winning touchdown drive on 5 plays, right? So he torched that defense. He threw 5 incompletions all game, did not throw an interception. He threw for 285 yards and touchdown. And get this, he rushed for 113 yards and a touchdown as well. Dude did it all. He beat Texas with his arm and his legs against a playoff team.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest rivalries in college football.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah. I don't care about I don't care about what anybody says about Dillon Gabriel, because everything that they've said, I've debunked time and time again by stats, by film. Everybody that's talked bad about this kid, even his brother reached out to me personally and said, you were like the first person that hasn't talked shit about my brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, what does he have to do? I mean, what does he have to do at this point in time to prove to everybody that he's a great guy? Me and Khalid spoke to him. You know what I'm saying? Super nice guy. Like, we didn't want to do an interview with him, but it was just cool to see for Khalid to have that moment because he's a fellow Oos. You know what I'm saying? And congratulate him on the stuff that he's done for his hometown. But, outside of that, man, we like Dillon as a person. We like him as a player. And I think he's going to be an excellent pro. And he'll be the guy in this draft that I don't want to say could be a sleeper. We're going to get to our sleepers. But he's one of those guys that shouldn't have been slept on in the first place. That could be Russell Wilson somewhere. And I think Russell Wilson is his comp. Like, I really do. The way that I felt about Russell Wilson in college is the way that I feel about Dillon Gabriel. Like, why are people overlooking this guy? And now he's going to come to the league and bust somebody's ass because everybody didn't believe in him but that one team.
And then Dillon Gabriel, right? His decision-making is incredible, accurate at all levels of the field. We had someone, join our Discord this past summer right after I joined talking about how, he's not accurate downfield. So I pulled up the charts and I'm like, dog, what are you watching? Because I have the numbers here. Like,
wait. We still owe $500 that Quinn Ewers is going to win the Heisman?
Win the Heisman.
And be better than Dillon Gabriel?
Mm-hmm. And look, I'm a fan of Quinn Ewers, right? He's my number 6 guy here. I didn't think he was going to win the Heisman. Dillon Gabriel is a more accurate throw of the football, especially downfield. And the thing for me with his height, look, I know he's going to play with, tall offensive linemen, but that Oregon offensive line is filled with NFL caliber dudes. And he had one of the lowest batted pass percentages in the entire country or out of this draft class, right?
Yeah.
So that can be put to rest.
Tyler Shough is, when I say it's 1A, 1B, man, and possibly 1C, because everybody knows how I feel about Dillon Gabriel, but Tyler Shough really put the whole country on notice this year. And it happened during draft season. It didn't happen within the season. It happened during this draft season period. And he's rising up a lot of people's boards. And what I hear about the Cleveland Browns almost every single day, I have a buddy that works for the Cleveland Browns, and I'm telling you, this might be the shock of the very first round is if Tyler Shough goes to the Browns. I mean,
at 3 or 2?
At 2.
2? Wow.
I think it's a possibility. Tyler Shough is everything that you want, man. Like, humble guy, dude's married, so you don't have to worry about any off the field antics. He wants to be the best he can. He's 25. He even said a lot of the guys that have met their prime are 25, 26 in their pro careers at this point. So, but I've seen a lot of people are talking about how sloppy that he can be when he plays. I don't really see that, man. I think that he's just trying to make plays for his team and know that, like, Louisville was in a better spot when he was trying than not trying the full year. So I know having Isaac Brown and Colin Lacey and those boys down there, like Ja'Cory Brooks, like these guys were awesome, but they were, a lot of it came because Tyler Shough was a two-way threat for them.
And Tyler Shough, he can make all the throws, right? I love the way that he manipulates zone defenses, not just with his eyes, but also with his movements. He knows a sleight of hand, a slight, raising of the elbow by a few inches is enough to make a defender take one step, right? Which is going to be one step too many, leaving a guy wide open.
Mm-hmm.
I love the way Tyler Shough is manipulating the defense.
And the advanced analytics tell you that Tyler Shough and Kurtis Rourke were possibly the best two quarterbacks this year. And in different ways. Tyler Shough dealt with a bunch of nobodies, like catching the ball. Like he was the most accurate and the best quarterback under adversity. That's what his statistics show you. Kurtis was the best quarterback probably in the country if it wasn't for a guy named Cam Ward statistically. So take that as you may. A lot of people would just say, oh, he's a dog or he sucks, and doesn't give you context. You can look these things up. Go back and watch the Tyler Shough sliders where I discuss exactly those stats and how they affected his team. Number 1 in drop percentage as a whole. Louisville was number 1. And then they lost Colin Lacey in the middle of the season. He said, I'm not playing the rest of the year. Yeah. Freshman running back. Yeah, all that happened. Crazy.